Alright everybody, this is Michael Rogers, the Bean Counter. I want to talk to you today about how to set up your own bank loan proposal. There's a couple little files here. If you're looking at this screen right here, you've clicked on the link. There's 4 different downloads. One, if you just want to get a whole PDF of what the sample looks like, you can click that. Download 1 here is the Word document, such as your cover page, table of contents, and loan request template. You can use those, download them, and then change them up for your own need. File 2 is going to be your Excel documents, which includes like your financial projections, your personal budget, your balance sheet items, and file 3 is going to be your PowerPoint document, which kind of shows here are all the projects I've done in the past. What you'll need to do on all the downloads files 1, 2, and 3 is you're going to modify these to your own personal use. The main document is going to kind of just show a template. But let's go ahead and start, and let's assume you've downloaded the first one. You can see here, this is going to pull up a full PDF. You can't change the PDF because it's a PDF, but if we can kind of go through, you can see there's a table of contents, kind of tells you everything that's going to be in the package. Page 1 is going to say, hey, here's a lot of information about the property, a little bit of information about who you are. Page 3 is going to talk about the project itself, the cash flow of it, what you're buying it for, how much you want to finance. This next page right here is page 5, is going to talk to you about your financial position. This is your balance sheet, and any balance sheet's got, it kind of shows points in time. Every 3 months you can see here's what your checking account balance was, your savings account balance. That sums up to all your total assets. You got your long-term assets, such as any houses you have, any cars you have, and that gives you total assets when you sum up your long-term assets and your current assets. And then you got your liabilities. What are we current and long term? Current's going to be credit cards, lines of credit, anything that's really due within the next year. And then you got your long term loans. These are things that are due in full after a year, such as student loans, car loans, mortgages on your properties, and that gives you your total long term loans. But if your net worth, as anybody knows, is basically you take all your assets minus all your liabilities, gets what you're worth. So in this case, you're worth $203,000. Again, you'll need to update that based on your own information. But the bank wants to see that. They want to know what that is. Your personal monthly basis budget, this is what you make each month. So, here's what you make net of taxes, any income you make from your properties, and expenses, the cash that's going out. And that kind of shows what your revenues over expenses are for the month. Bank wants to know that. They want how much cash flow you're generating each month so that you can pay them back if they let you borrow a property. The next one is, here's just a kind of a good simple document the bank likes. They can see here what all your properties are. They can see this is what you owe on those properties. This is what you've got in them, the estimated cost. This is what the appraisal is, if you've got any kind of appraisals. And then this kind of shows what your monthly payments are. This just gives them some really good information. Who's the lender? What's the location? What are the balances? How much you got in it? And how much is it worth? A lot of times what they'll be looking at is they'll look at, hey, what's this appraised value on this property, and maybe you only owe $50,000 on it and it's worth $150,000. Well, they know they can use that as collateral on another loan. So it's just kind of a good piece of information to give them. And then this, if you've got any projects you've done in the past, pictures and visuals and being able to show people what you've done really does a lot. So I've just done this one. This is a property I did a renovation on, and it kind of shows you, here's the before, a few pictures of it. Here's the after. Gives the address, what it is, what I'm getting a month. And I think people being able to see that, gosh, you came in there, it was a total mess, and you finished it up, and it looks great. That kind of shows them you got a track record. Banks and anybody lending you money wants to see that you've got a track record if you can show them that. Any kind of project you've done. Here's another one, bought it and fixed it up. So this kind of gives you a kind of a quick overview. So we'll go back and download file 1 of 3. You can see right here it's going to download. You just click on this, open it up. And enable editing. So you can see this you can update. This is just a Word document. It's that same stuff. Just go in there. These things have got brackets around. You need to update it. Prepared by, put your name, your phone number, email, the date you prepared it. You may need to update the table of contents if you've got more photos or properties than I showed, or if you want to remove something or add something. These things I've got in here are pretty basic. I would include them. Again, I would update the name, address, city, state, phone, email, just information for them to get a hold of you. What are you asking for? The loan request. This is the first thing you need to be able to, when you go into the bank, you need to be able to use that banker's time and not waste it. They need to be able to come up and pull up a page and say, one page, what is this person wanting from me? Can I help them? So you're going in and saying, hey, I'm requesting $80,000 to buy this house. Purchase price is $100,000. It's got an appraisal of $150,000. I think it's going to cost me $10,000 to put in there. So that tells them, here's what it is. Here's how much they want from me. Here's what it's worth. And that very quickly lets them know if they can do any business with you. You can kind of give them the addresses. Again, you got it down here. If you know loan terms, you got loan to value. Loan to value is simply, hey, here's what this property's worth, and here's how much you're going to borrow it. So you can see 80,000 divided by 150,000 is 53%. Typically, banks are going to want to see something less than 80%. That's safer for them. And then you got loan to value on a cost approach. You can see what you got there. Amortization period, that's how many years that the thing's going to be as if you paid it off over that term. So you're going to pay it each month as if you're going to pay that thing off over 15 years. The loan term is after 3 years, that loan is done. Most of the time, the bank is going to renew that loan with you. But after 3 years, you're going to reset that loan. You're going to go back in, reapply. But where you see loan terms and the amortization period not matching up is when you're doing portfolio loans with a bank. So when you go into a bank and that bank's actually going to hold that loan, you're not going to find hardly any banks that are going to agree to a loan term longer than 3 to 5 years. They don't want to do it from interest rate risk. They don't want to take a chance that they lock you in at 5% and 10 years down the road interest rates are 10%, and they're subject to not being able to be competitive. So that's what you're going to lay that out. If you do a secondary market loan like most people have on their houses, they will match up. This 15 years and this 15 years will match up. The downside of that is when you're getting those secondary market loans, they are much more difficult to get in the sense that there's a lot more. You got to check the box. You got to have all these things in certain order. And if there's anything kind of funky about it, the banks just don't have as much flexibility to work with you. So most of the time, real estate investors are dealing with portfolio loans, and that's how that works. Interest rate, monthly payment. If you got what your primary job is, what you do, they talked about your investments, what your goals, give them a little professional background. That'll make them feel a little better. And then the second one here, we'll go through it. You got an Excel document. Let's open it up. Alright, so I've got these number 2, 3, 4, 5, so you can keep up with it. This is just the financial projections. Just use this, update it. Again, we talked about what all these numbers are. Your budget, if you've got a personal budget, just put something together. You know, you can update these numbers. You can go in there, edit them, and print them out. Balance sheet. This is something I recommend. I've got another post in here that I talk about how to prepare a balance sheet. But this is something if you're somebody that's going to be doing rental property or going to be doing real estate or you care about your net worth over time, track this. This is great. You can go in and see over time how you're doing, how you're growing. So be sure and keep one of these. And then the property owned sheet. So those are those. We went over those in the other PDF. And then the final one, this is just a PowerPoint document that you can use to show your own pictures and tell your own story. I think most people know how to use PowerPoint, but you can kind of substitute your pictures in here. So, you know, if you want to get rid of that picture, you can just click on it, enable editing. So if you want to get rid of that, just cut it, insert another picture. Yeah, go out and find your picture, insert it. Show my daughter when she was really young. So you just take that. If you need to make it down a little smaller, stick it right there, and you've got all these different borders you can put around it, but you can play with it and get just the way you want to Get it? And that kind of shows you everything you need to know. So hopefully that'll help you. If you got any questions, feel free to post a question on the blog, or most importantly, sign up for our newsletter, as we send out new information, new blogs, new podcasts. We'll notify you about them. And if this has been helpful to you, share it. Stick it on Facebook, Twitter, information. That helps us do better, and that way we can continue to put out good information that'll help you with your business. Thanks so much.